Lee Anderson is the Tory MP for Ashfield who has very enthusiastically piled in on his party's war on nurses. First thing on Thursday morning, he tweeted this. He's tweeting a Mirror article, "Rich Tory tells skint nurses budget better," and Lee Anderson says, "The point here is that anyone, not just nurses, earning more than 30k and using food banks must have a budgeting problem. I have constituents, i.e. armed forces, bin men, bar staff, care workers, bus drivers, pensioners, etc., who can all live on less. Am I missing something?" Now, as you can imagine, Lee Anderson got quite a lot of pushback on social media for that. But he wouldn't end there. He fought back, and in doing so, he posted this follow-up. There's a picture of someone called Katie, who is his staffer. "Katie works for me. She is single and earns less than £30,000, rents a room for £775 per calendar month in central London, has student debt, £120 a month on travelling to work, saves money every month, goes on foreign holidays, and does not need to use a food bank." Katie makes my point really well. Aaron, I want your thoughts on this. We're going to go into some detail into the background of Katie in a moment. But first of all, regardless of who she is or might be, this to me reads as a Tory saying, if you don't earn much money, don't have kids, right? Because obviously it's much easier to live on 30k if you are single and can just rent one room in a shared house. Are the Tories now the party of, anti-family values? If you can't afford kids, don't have them. You should all live like Katie, someone presumably in her 20s with no dependents.
Yeah, it really was, that word that we hear so much in UK politics, Michael, aspiration. This was like the quintessence of anti-aspiration. Work really hard, go to university, get a good degree, and then you too can work for one of the several hundred most powerful legislators in the country at the heart of our nation's government. You can work there in your mid-20s after studying really hard, and you too can live in a single room like a student for the rest of your life while not saving money, not saving for old age, being unable to have children, start a family, or even own your own car. Michael, this is an extraordinary tacit admission from Lee Anderson. He's not smart enough, I think, to realise what he's done there. Somebody on £30,000 a year after tax is looking at, I think, £23,800. Then, of course, you've got student debt. Then you've got your bills and your rent and so on and so forth. And in London, frankly, rent and bills go over £1,000. You're looking at council tax and whatnot, your phone. And so realistically, you're looking at then living on around £200 a week, probably less. That, of course, has got to include your transport, your food. You have the occasional thing like dental care, clothes and whatnot. And so then discretionary spending, Michael, is really, really small. You're looking at about less than £100. We're talking about going out and whatnot. Less than £100. You clearly can't have children. Clearly. You clearly can't save. You clearly can't put that much into a pension. You clearly can't own a car. Clearly. If you are one tragedy, one accident away from penury, having no money whatsoever, you can't really generate much of a cushion for yourself. Michael, in the UK a few years ago, this was before COVID, so the numbers have probably changed a little bit, but in the UK, around 17 million people were judged as having £100 or less in savings. 17 million people of working age, I should add. £100 or less in savings, which is to say, if something really bad happens, those people are absolutely screwed. And yes, they will end up needing a food bank. So he really has misjudged this. And I find it remarkable. I find it remarkable that somebody can say, yep, top job, at the center of power, well-educated, and you're going to live basically like a university student well into your 30s. And life's just going to be kind of that. Kind of crap. This is very new. People weren't saying that was normal or acceptable in the 1990s or the 2000s. But the fact he assumes that it is, I think really reveals how much has changed.
There's one thing I want to push back at you on there, Aaron. You said if you're on 30k, if you're living this lifestyle, you're probably one accident away from penury. Now, for many people, that is true. It's not going to be true if you have very wealthy parents. And that does seem to be the case here. So unfortunately for this staffer, her boss tweeting out a picture of her with quite a lot of personal information meant that people could quite easily research her background. Many people on Twitter did. And the Daily Mail dedicated an entire article to her. This is the headline. Revealed. Staff member on less than 30k used by the Tory MP Lee Anderson as argument against nurses needing to use food banks went to a £33,000 a year private school and is the daughter of decorated army veteran. The Daily Mail expand on her father's job like this. Brigadier David Culfup, CBE, so this guy has an honour, was a senior member of the armed forces who was commissioned into the historic Green Howards Yorkshire Regiment in 1989. An alumnus of the esteemed Sandhurst Military Academy, Brig Culfup served across the world for over 3 decades, including combat operations in tours of Afghanistan, Bosnia and the First Gulf War. He was most recently the Director of Operations for all Army recruiting and initial training. So with a family like that, I imagine if Katie runs out of money before the end of the month, she's not going to have to resort to a food bank. So this is now the Tory message. Look, you don't need to use a food bank as long as you're in your 20s, you live in a room in a big shared house, you don't dream of having children or dependents, you don't drive a car, you scrimp and save all week, and in case anything goes wrong, you have incredibly wealthy parents, everything's fine. Why can't you all just have incredibly wealthy parents, not have kids, live in a shared house? It's completely bizarre. I feel a little bit sorry for this staffer. Presumably she has some political allegiances to Lee Anderson, so there is a limit to my sympathy, but I don't know if she imagined the Daily Mail were going to research her background when her boss tweeted out that very misjudged tweet. Lee is no stranger to misjudged tweets. He has been very busy on Twitter, and just a day before the attack on nurses and the expose of his staffer, he posted this video.
Get the toes done. A bit more polish there. Same. On the left one first. Not too much attention on the left because we don't care about the left, do we? But let's see what happens next. So, in the buffing room now, got my shoes, got the polish on, switch the buffer on, quick waft there for the old buffer. Not too much attention on the left one for obvious reasons. And then on the main buffer. There you go, look. Job done.
That joke was really not good enough to say twice. Oh, we don't care about the left shoe, do we? Asking him for directions. Oh, it's on the right and then on the left. Oh, we don't care about the left, do we? How many times can you do that in a day? Let's look at the caption that went with this video. Behind the scenes, you can tell a lot of a person from how clean their shoes are. And that's what the video is related to.
It's important to say when you look at those Lee Anderson videos, Michael, he's the Tory id. He's the boomer Tory id. So we saw the one about shoe polish. Another one was how to do up a tie. You know, this is the classic stuff. Put on a suit, put on have a haircut, short back and sides, put on a tie, polish your shoes, go out there and get a job. That is the sort of like basic stuff. My mum was a working class Tory. She loved this stuff, right? She was a boomer. God rest her soul. Like you say, I don't think it really works with much of with the working age population. He did make a 101 rookie error for a boomer Tory, Michael. He used shoe polish on a carpet. Never do that. Never do that, because if you stain the carpet, then you're buggered. So he really undermined his own credentials with this stuff. But you're right to say that this was like the default of working class conservatism all the way through the 1990s, all the way through to then. And it's kind of died. And what's interesting is that people like Rishi Sunak aren't really familiar with it. You know, they've never really been at home with it. It's never really been a part of their life. And so you wonder where it goes. And I feel like those energies, if we did have proportional representation in this country, you would have a party to the right of the Conservatives, staffed with people like Farage. And this is literally all they would talk about. You know, culture war talking points like, oh, Kiwi boot polish doesn't exist anymore. What happened? You know, that's actually a thing they're trying to make happen at the moment, right? I don't know if you saw this. Kiwi boot, but there's other brands, by the way. Kiwi boot polish no longer exists. So it is interesting, and like you say, he does reflect a certain demographic, which isn't as politically powerful as it used to be. Also, like the whole, I'm polishing my shoes by using a buffering machine. I thought the whole point was, graft. Yeah. I thought if you want to go the full Monty on this, Michael, yes, you don't just polish your shoes, you also do the whole military thing of like using a lighter to get them extra shiny. That would be peak Tory boomer. Lee Anderson, you failed.
you.